Hi folks, the pastor here with the word that the Lord has laid on my heart recently about how to have hope in a hopeless situation. Let me ask you, do you ever feel encircled by the enemy? You know, when things go awful beyond description and things get really dark and bleak, it's in those times when the light of the Lord and the hope of the Lord shines the brightest. I've been enamored lately with a story from Jeremiah chapter 32 about an event that happened in the prophet's life. And the whole story is about how God promises a new covenant, how He's promised forgiveness and restoration. This is the setting in Jeremiah 32. Imagine that you're looking down at the city of Jerusalem and it's encircled by a great army, the Babylonians. Now they've encircled the city and they're building siege ramps. The whole area around Jerusalem is decimated. People are hungry, there's devastation everywhere, and it's just a matter of time before the enemy goes over the wall. I believe the church is kind of like Jerusalem, and it's also under siege as well. At this time, the army of the king of Babylon is besieging Jerusalem. Now Jeremiah the prophet is closed up, imprisoned in the courtyard of the king's house. He's under house arrest. And the king at the time is very angry with Jeremiah because Jeremiah has told the people of God to surrender to the Babylonians because he's going to chasten them, but he's going to bring them back after 70 years. The king doesn't hear it, and he accuses Jeremiah of giving unpatriotic messages, and so he's got him under house arrest. So Jeremiah is in prison, if you will, but the whole city of Jerusalem is encircled. Now, the false prophets are being honored, very similar to what's going on today. Who wouldn't be hopeless in a situation like that? Do you realize that the true prophetic voices, for the most part, with a few exceptions, are being shut up as well and not listened to? The true church is not generally being listened to. Have you ever felt like that? When you were trying to share something with someone and their eyes are glazing over, or they're just really not listening to you, and sometimes they're just plain ignoring you. This is what Jeremiah had experienced. The true voices of the Lord are often misunderstood, and in Jeremiah's situation, he was even mocked. Could I just say something to you here? The church is under siege as well. No, not in a natural way, but in a spiritual way. Maybe one day in the future it could be natural and spiritual. What is Babylon to us? Well, there's a spiritual Babylon that's actually very much at work. One man said once, it's everything that sets itself up against God. It's all the harlot religious system that operates in America. It's America with all of its perversion and materialism and all the huge emphasis on commerce and finances and buying and selling, the emphasis on entertainment, just to name a few things. It's calling good things evil and vice versa. It is a pressure that children and college students and high school students, and you as well if you're working for a company, may be experiencing to bow down to an ungodly worldview. This spiritual Babylon has many people surrounded today. Do you feel like you're under a siege? Our young people are being captured at an alarming rate. Some experts say that up to 3/4 of our church kids, by the time they leave high school and finish the freshman year of college, have abandoned the faith. These are kids that grew up in church. Our little children are being introduced to the occult through cartoons and things that they're watching, hooked on electronic devices at early ages, not learning how to interact with people and not learning basic manners. Think about all the people and the young people and others who are in rebellion, the pornography issues that are rampant in our society. I just want to say to you that in this story in Jeremiah chapter 32, Jeremiah gets a word from the Lord that his cousin's going to come to him in the midst of all this chaos and offer to sell him some land in his hometown. Interesting thing about this is most likely the Babylonian army was encamped on that very property, and because the Lord had spoken to Jeremiah that his cousin was coming, he bought the land which seemed like a very foolish thing to do. It's possible that his cousin had heard his prophecies and was possibly even challenging him to put his money where his mouth is. You may have someone in your circle of influence that will need an investment of your time. And when you do this, you will offer God's mercy and grace to them. Your investment in them will give them hope. And even more importantly, as you buy that field, you will have hope. This whole thing represents us laying a foundation for our children, something that will come forth even after we're gone. We're not here anymore. Let me say something to you. You know, when you're not listened to or being ignored, we should do what the prophet did and what another saint did many years ago. His name was St. Francis. This is what he said. He said, wherever you go, you preach the gospel, and sometimes use words. You know, today we have more assurances of God's promises than they did at that time, because now we've had the opportunity to see the prophecies about Jesus be fulfilled. Are you looking for hope? Do you feel like lately you've been under siege or encircled by evil? Will you buy the field? I'm not talking about real estate. I'm saying, will you make an investment in what God promises for the future? What does He promise? His kingdom. He says, seek first His kingdom and His righteousness, and all these things shall be added unto you. So I'm asking, will you invest your life? Will you invest your time, your money, your resources in someone else, even though you may not see the benefits of it? Can I just remind us that Jeremiah never saw the benefits to the property that he bought? And will you do this even if it seems foolish? And lastly, when you're not being listened to or someone's ignoring you, would you be willing to do what Jeremiah did? Would you put your money where your mouth is and preach without words? A message of hope. Be blessed.